This is my living room slash dining room. It's where I do my TV watching and meals eating.
Wait, that's not another fireplace, right? Is that a second fireplace? Is that a second fireplace? What?
One of the first things that I started spending more money on right away was food because I don't have time to cook. I had more money.
Stop! Bro!
And so I started eating Grubhub 3 meals a day most days. After that,
Three per day! She's spending like $5,000 a month on Grubhub. This is why I hate the middle class, and this is why I support the destruction of the middle class.
My name is Hattie. I'm 29 years old. I live on the Upper West Side of Manhattan
Oh my
in a
God!
2-bedroom apartment, and I pay $1,300 a month in rent.
Damn.
I am a special education teacher. I'm also a part-time interior designer and part-time Instagram blogger. I think my favorite thing about my apartment is just when you step in, you feel like you're in another time period.
Jesus.
And that was my biggest goal when doing all
What?
my projects. I really wanted to just preserve
How big are these apartments? This is like a
the
decent
history
sized place. No, am I
of the
crazy?
place. So the layout
Maybe it's just the filming or whatever.
is unique. You just don't see a hallway like mine anymore. I really love my pantry area. There's an old dumbwaiter, all original cabinets. So you really just feel like you're living in 1900.
How did she get this? Did she inherit this apartment from a family member or? Jesus.
I'm a lifelong New Yorker and also lifelong Upper West Sider. Before we lived here, we lived in another smaller apartment, and then we moved here when I was 10, and I have been here ever.
Okay. How old is she now? Did it say 29, 19 years ago? I wonder if her parents owned it prior or somebody owned it prior that transferred the lease or something, or I don't know if that works that way in America or New York City.
So I live in a rent stabilized apartment, which is why it's so low in cost. When my parents moved into this apartment, it was a rent controlled apartment, but because they took over the lease, it became rent stabilized. We're not able to remember the exact number of the rent when we moved in, but I've tried to look back as far as I can in paperwork, and I can definitely say that it was under $1,000.
Look far as back as I can in paperwork. Oh my God.
This exact apartment, a couple floors up, went 2 years ago, I believe, for 38, maybe 36, but around that range. I think my friends just look at me in disbelief and then roll their eyes, but I think they're pretty happy for me. Growing up, my parents just...
Wait, does she live alone? Oh my God.
I don't think they were able to afford to ever buy in Manhattan, and also living in Manhattan, it's really quite the norm to be a renter forever. A lot of people ask me, why don't you just buy the apartment? Well, it's not up for sale, and I could never afford it. So my mom was also a teacher, so that's the reason that they got this apartment, and then they hung on to it for me because they knew it would be just such a great deal for me.
Ah, she did inherit. I knew it. This is what I mean. This is not, rent control is not doing what you want it to do. This is not good. These are not the types of people you want to infinitely keep in some area that could go better served to somebody else. Ugh. You know what she is?
That's my donor class right there.
Parents first told me that their plan was to transfer the lease into my name. I actually wasn't into the idea. I don't really know what was wrong with me, but I didn't like my apartment. I didn't think it was nice, and
Bro, is she like 3 feet tall? Or are these rooms like really spacious? What the fuck? I think this is bigger than my bedroom. What the fuck?
My naive mind thought that I would be able to afford something nicer, but once they moved out...
Is there a 1,500 square feet? What? What the fuck? What's this total square footage of my house? Jesus. Jesus Christ.
I got really interested in interior design and DIYs, and I realized that this is such a gem of an apartment, and they don't make them like this anymore, and it's such a unique space, so I'm really happy that I changed my mind. I love the Upper West Side. It's definitely my favorite area in the whole city. I feel so blessed to have grown up here. The neighborhood has changed a lot in my lifetime, but I still really enjoy the neighborhood because there are still a few small businesses that are open. I love being surrounded.
My 3-bedroom house, I don't think they count below grade, is 1,506 square feet. Jesus Christ.
By 2 beautiful parks, and I love being away from Midtown and downtown and all those noisy parts of New York. So I live in a really old building. This building was built in the 1890s, and I have absolutely zero amenities, but that's okay with me because I would much rather have space and charm.
Zero amenity or anything. It's probably like treated like, this is also what I mean too. When they say that it's like charming, what they really mean is like nobody's spending any money to upgrade anything. There's not even any money to be made here. So it's just
I got started on working on this apartment. The main thing I wanted to do was to undo all of the weird renovations that other tenants had done. They had built walls over pocket doors. They took out original glass inserts in doors. And I just wanted to kind of restore all that and get it back to its original charm. So this is my foyer. I recently...
What is a foyer? Oh, is that foyer? Is that the entry room? Is that what I call it? Is that a poor person way to call it? Is a foyer? Is it a foyer?
Painted it. I wanted to create definition from this room and the hallway, and I really wanted this to feel like its own room. About a year ago, I wallpapered my front door. This is one of the moldings that I put up that's not original. I think the reason why this wall didn't have any moldings is because originally this apartment was combined with the one next door, so this wall wasn't even here. I thrifted this mirror and I gilded it myself just with some rub and buff. It's a really quick and easy project. And I also thrifted this table. My dresser here, this is the only piece of furniture that my parents left me with, and this was my grandparents'
Yeah, wait. Do we have enough time to go through the wine cellar? Jesus.
way back in the 40s. When
Or
they
her
lived
personal library? Is that next to the fireplace?
in Kentucky. And I recently just had it looked at by an antique expert, and it's apparently from like 1800, so super old, and I was really excited to learn that. So this is my library room. This used to be my bedroom. I used to have it.
I'm sorry.
Painted purple, and pink curtains, pink everything. And then as I got older, kind of lessened with the pink, and then...
My library room?
And initially I had this as my guest bedroom, so I just had a bed and a dresser, but then I decided to make the space more functional for me. So I got this sleeper sofa, I got these bookshelves, desk, and I just turned it into a little reading room. This is my living room / dining room. It's where I do my TV watching and meals eating. Probably my favorite purchase that I've ever made is my Samsung frame.
Wait, no, okay. I was gonna say, does she have 2 fireplaces? Wait, that's not another fireplace, right? Is that a second fireplace? Is that a second fireplace? What? Imagine you are dating some special ed teacher and you're like, oh, do you want to go back to your place? I got a nice place. She's like, I got a nice place. Like, okay. And you go in and she's like, can you light the fireplace? And you're like, oh, okay, Jesus. She's like, no, not that one.
Do my TV watching and meals eating. Probably my favorite purchase that I've ever made is my Samsung Frame TV. Right now it's off and it's in art mode, and you can set it to any art you want. So now we are standing in the master bedroom. This used to be my parents' bedroom.
Bro, what the fuck? What the fuck?
But originally, when this building was built, this apartment and the one next door would have been combined. So this room would have actually been a dining room. This was the first room that I made a bold color choice in, and I chose to do a dark navy paint for the walls. This is my favorite fireplace. It's not real marble, it's just contact paper. I put fairy lights in the fireplace to give the illusion of a real fire, and the logs that you see in there are actually original, and if you look closely, they have little holes in them where the gas and fire would have come out of. So one of the first things
What do you think her Reddit account is, and how many times has she complained about the cost of living and how unaffordable life is in New York City? What do you think?
thing I bought for my own apartment after my parents left was this light fixture. I just saw it and I thought it was really cool. They're tassels. I changed every single light fixture except 2 so far. I wanted really modern, kind of spindly chandeliers to play off all of the antiques that I have going on.
Her Instagram here. Do you think she voted for Mom Donnie? Oh no. She must have gotten bullied. No, she didn't. What is this? Her family's other house, or is this her other house?
200-year-old home in the countryside. If you've come across my content before, it was
So much has changed since I closed on the house. Do you think she still owns the original apartment and the house, or like has the lease on it and she subleases it? What do you think? Since I'm a proud homeowner, you'll still see my apartment and life in the city all the time, but since I'm a proud homeowner, I'm definitely letting the house take the main stage. Oh my God! A rent stabilized house and she doesn't live in. I hate myself because I was gonna make the joke, but it was worse. I was gonna make the joke, and how mad are you guys gonna be when you find out she vacations for 2 months a year at her parents' massive house in like rural Pennsylvania or something. But she actually has her own separate huge house.
probably of me renovating my childhood apartment in New York City. I spent the last
And she re-renovated it again. I thought she said you wanted to keep it looking old.
7 years restoring its original features, protecting the historical details, and also doing a bit of gut renovations here and there. I met my boyfriend through that process when I hired him to do crown molding, and now Sebastian and I do lots of projects together.
Yeah, he got hired by this chick and came in and he was like, yo, you're fine, girl. We should date. I didn't realize that I was talking to a welfare queen.
This new old house being one of them. I've wanted to buy a home in the country to use as a little escape from the city for as long as I can remember.
True. When you're feeling claustrophobic in your 1,500 square foot, $1,300 a month apartment.
And have been looking for years. The house I bought was built in 1831, and despite how gorgeous it is, it's actually been unoccupied for years. The previous owners sold privately.
Dan said she has to spend more than half the year in the apartment. That is where you're wrong, Dan. Let me correct her statement. I know you're memeing or I'm memeing, but she just has to say that she spends over half the year there.
Because I think it was really important to them that the house go to the right people. We were driving by on our way to go see another house and just happened to see a for sale sign in front of this
Just bought it on a whim?
house. And then it turned out that their for sale sign was just put out like the day before. So it truly felt like this house was waiting for us and that it chose us. The best thing about this house was, at least for me, it felt like the perfect balance.
I'm just waiting for the one thing I regret about this home is it has fewer fireplaces than my apartment in New York City.
Of beautiful original charm, but also potential for lots and lots of projects. Some rooms are simple and just call for
How many
paint,
acres?
maybe wallpaper, changing light fixtures, while others are more full-blown gut renovations. There's lots of little things that need to be done, like stripping paint off all the hinges, lots of outdoor projects. There's also a 3-story barn, a chicken.
I bet your ass that landlord is security cam checking. I doubt it, because I bet New York City is one of those places like SF or LA or whatever where you have to go through like a 72-month eviction process in order to get people to actually move out of places.
And a whole back part of the house that has 3 basically bonus rooms that have actually never been finished. Needless to say, there are years worth of projects here. So follow along as we breathe fresh new life into this nearly 200-year-old home while respecting its history and original gorgeous features, of course.
Why are you guys just triggering the out of me? We don't need to be looking at this. There's her apartment. What happened to liking the original brick?
Welcome back to the yellow room. This is the first guest bedroom that we're tackling in my
The first guest bedroom. When you're so poor, you go to your friend's house and they're like, "Do you want the first or second guest bedroom?" Oh my God.
new, very old house. It was already painted yellow when we moved in, hence the name, the yellow room. It's a very cool toned yellow though, and on rainy or cloudy
How much is my apartment? Where I live right now is like $5,200 a month. What the f?
it reads almost pale green.
I'm a retard.
Which is nice, but just not exactly the vibe I want to go for in here. Enter the wallpaper. This is my first time using Fairwind Ball wallpaper, and definitely not my last. I actually 2 of this bedroom makeover. This is what the bedroom looked like when I first closed on the house, and here's what it's been looking like for the past few months. We've basically just made it livable, but I'm ready to take it to the next level. And we're doing that by installing these ceiling mounted curtain rods.
They wrote an op-ed about her. Don't hate the influencer who loves her big cheap apartment, wouldn't you? After her parents passed along their rent-stabilized apartment on the Upper West Side, Katie Culp used it to start a new career as a content creator in the home decor space. Like many college grads, Hattie Culp needed 2 major things: a job and somewhere to live. Born and raised in New York, Miss Culp always knew she'd be back. California living, she decided after 4 years attending college, outside LA wasn't for her. So she did out-of-state tuition at this chick is rich. She's just from a rich family. That's what's going on. She's just rich. She's just from an incredibly rich family. That's it. Is there any way for rent stabilization and rent control to work as intended, like help poor people not get priced out or whatever? Ideally, building more homes is good just because, well, you'd have to means test it, and the same people that advocate for rent control hate means testing. So no, she wanted that spirit again. So with no money and no job, she did what any other 20-something would do. She moved back in with her parents. Also, I just want you to know the deep hatred that I have, okay? The deep hatred that I had in college, listening to college students talk about how they were broke, okay? So I don't know if you figure this out, okay? But if you go working class into college, when college students, 99% of them, including 100% of the ones that post on Reddit and in my chat, when college students say that they're broke, what that means is they have to call mom and dad to pay for everything. Not that they don't actually have any money, right? So I know you're thinking like, oh my God, you're broke, so you can't get that thing, right? You're broke, so you don't have any money to get that thing. No, when they say they're broke, what they mean is they have to make a quick call to the interest-free bank of mom and dad that they also don't have to pay back, and then they get whatever they want. That's what broke means to the majority of these motherfuckers. So with no money and no job, she did what any other 20-something would do. She had many fond childhood memories of the 2-bedroom pre-war rental. Her father worked at a nonprofit, and her mother as an art historian, and later a nursery school teacher. Her parents' apartment was rent stabilized, and when they retired and decamped to Virginia in 2018 with another house they bought, I guess, they passed the apartment to her. Usually, at least in Sweden, not that I know of anybody that's ever done this, in Sweden and Stockholm, you have to lie to like pass on property like this and keep it rent stabilized. Like you have to do tricky things that the government doesn't find out about. Are you just allowed to pass on rent stabilized property to other people and nobody gives a f? Ms. Culp now makes a living as a content creator. Well, but she's already living and her parents are rich and she doesn't need to make a living because she's already on keeping the apartment in the family. While Miss Culp doesn't have children, she says she intends to hold on to the rent-stabilized apartment for future generations. This is what I mean too. When you design housing policy, when part of you because you guys in chat do this, and you go, why? What's wrong with that, Destiny? The idea that somebody should be allowed to buy a place and that they're entitled to it for all of their progeny, all their future children, all their future generations, forever and ever and ever. How do you design city policy around this? How do you design any workable living space where that's the assumption? I don't want to be in any trendy areas. I don't want to go to a trendy restaurant. I just want to live my life. So I love that the Upper West Side is just quiet and quaint, and it feels neighborhoody. The Upper West Side is in the city, right? Why not go to like the Bronx or Brooklyn, or is that retarded, or is this not in Manhattan? What is this? Am I retarded? Why not right on the west side of Central Park? Jesus. Okay. Average rent Upper West Side apartment for a 2-bedroom is $7,095. After graduating from college, Miss Culp took a job showing apartments for a real estate agency, a notoriously brutal and oft unstable profession in a city like New York. She estimates that she made just $1,000 during the stint. I never ever had any adult experiences with New York City real estate before, so I just had no concept. She did that for 2 months and then became a teacher. Her degree was in child development, another job that barely paid the bills in New York. Even going back to school at Hunter College to get a graduate degree didn't shake the feeling that she should be doing something different. She was born and raised in New York City. I guess in the Upper West Side is where this was her family apartment. Went to an out-of-state school, I'm guessing a UC school in California. Came back to New York City and around for 2 months with some random shit. Then got another low-paying job. And then went back to another school for a master's. What the In New York City, rent stabilization applies generally to apartments and buildings with at least 6 units that were built before 1974, or newer buildings that received tax breaks. People were watching, and then more people were watching. It seemed the whole world knew she paid only $1,300 in rent, so much so that she prefers to focus on her interior design of the apartment. The butler's pantry was painted in a dark green shade to convey a very moody space. True. Hate the game, not the player. Read her FAQ. Why are you rage baiting me with this one person? I grew up in this apartment. My mom settled in a small 1-bedroom walk-up apartment on the Upper West Side in the early 1980s after my parents were married. A good friend of my dad's and his wife were moving out of the city and asked my parents if they'd like to move into his rent-stabilized 2-bedroom apartment. Oh my God. Rent stabilization is always a yes. Do you see the negative distortionary effects? Here it is. What does it mean to have rent control such stabilization? Basically, it means you struck gold. Your lease renews perpetually and the price is low. Rent regulation, in the form of rent control stabilization, is a program in New York City that protects tenants from rental increases. Rent stabilization means your lease can only go up a certain percentage. It used to be 2.5%, but I think it's gone up to 3.2% now per renewal. Rent control means your lease cannot increase in price at all. The only way to obtain a rent control apartment is if you're already in one or through a family member. You must have been living in the apartment for 2 years to qualify. Rent stabilization is far more common and available to anyone, but they can be hard to find because once you get a rent stabilized apartment, you do not let it go. True. That's the friction. More info on this topic here. Unfortunately, these programs do not help the people that they should. They are not intended for low-income families. In fact, there is no income cap for living in one of these apartments. While I acknowledge the immense privilege of living where I do and benefiting from this system, I also am aware that it needs some serious revision. Oh, Based. You know what? Based. She knows the game. But you better believe if they tried to change it in New York City, she'd fight to the death against it. Well, her rent's up to $1,400 now. When my parents moved in 20 plus years ago, it was $900. If I were to move out, the building management would gut the apartment, stripping it of all the charm and character I've worked so hard to enhance so that they could deem it capital improvements and raise the price. On the market, it would probably be about $6,000 to $8,000 a month, depending on if they put a W/D, put in a washer dryer hookup probably. So again, this is why I'm never leaving. How do you feel about investing in a property you don't own? This is my childhood home that I see myself keeping for the rest of my life and possibly passing down to children. Oh, and her content creation has been her full-time job since 2022. How much money does she even make from that? I bet she only makes like a couple $1,000s a month at most.
For many Americans, work can feel like a hamster wheel. No matter how hard they run, it never feels like enough. Americans, on average, say they would need $520,000
Have we watched this before? I feel like we've seen articles about this.
a year to feel rich. And the more people earn, the more they say they need to feel comfortable. Americans making under $50,000 felt they needed $157,000 a year to feel comfortable. Those making $100,000 or more said they would need $246,000.
When I was in middle school, a song came out called Mo Money, Mo Problems. And I think that that's true. Your problems scale.
Please stop doing this if you make these videos. You're just setting these people up for a disaster. Please stop.
You still are dealing with a finite number every month. Your worries, your anxiety, your budget scales to that. You still are dealing with a ceiling.
About 14% of all U.S. households make $200,000 or more every year. But many of them, dubbed Henrys or high earners, not rich yet, still don't feel rich. 62% of people with salaries over $300,000 a year struggle with credit card debt.
Earning doesn't actually make you feel rich, spending it does. If most people spent 99% of their paycheck, they'd feel quite rich. And it's the paradox here, when we're in accumulation mode, it's very difficult to feel rich.
It can be pretty easy for someone to feel like I'm making really good money,
That was the dumbest thing I think I've ever heard in my life. What?
but I don't have a lot of discretionary income.
Earning more and feeling like you're still on a hamster wheel is what a lot of Henrys experience. And that's because they're not living within their means. They may have been living above their means when they weren't nearly making as much money, and now they're just continuing to add more and more and more.
I earn $300,000 and I live in New York City. I definitely don't feel rich. I feel very lucky. I feel privileged, but I do not.
I'm doing it on stream right now. If she says she has a rent stabilized apartment for $1,500 a month, just kidding. She won't.
Not feel rich. I could not stop working right now. I have more money anxiety almost now than I ever did in my 20s. I am on a hamster
Stop buying shit! Don't say. She's going to say she's on a hamster wheel.
wheel, and there's no question.
Sorry.
Henrys often don't feel rich compared to others. Many Henrys are cash rich and asset poor. So they're typically people under 40. They don't have childcare hours available. They're first-time home buyers in the housing market. They're paying off student loans early, hopefully. And their income usually hasn't hit a career peak. So they're very much in that not rich yet bucket, but they very well could be in the future.
Oh, I 100%.
What is this person's job? What is this? Why this person is? They're cash rich, but asset poor. They're young people. Why would they have assets? And how would even having assets make you feel rich? It depends on the type of asset you're talking about. Every single thing this person has said is retarded.
They don't have childcare hours available. They're first-time home buyers in the housing market. They're paying off student loans early, hopefully. And their income usually hasn't hit a career peak. So they're very much in that not rich yet bucket, but they very well could be in the future.
Oh, I 100% feel like a Henry.
Yes. You gain wealth as you age. That's how aging and wealth works. Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Marian Contreras was a professional composer, band leader, and pianist who started her virtual assistant business in 2016.
That year, I started to grow slowly, and I was suddenly earning more money than I had ever earned in my life.
She keeps doing. I'm getting trolled. I'm getting trolled. Please stop trolling me. Stop trolling me.
And I think the number was something like 35,000 by the end of the year. And I went, wow, this is really great. I can grow this.
She then expanded into a digital marketing consulting agency during the pandemic.
For the calendar year of 2025, we're just on track to make 1.4 million. We're hoping to get to 1.5 or possibly even 1.6.
She's talking revenue, but what is her take home from that?
Anticipating my owner's draw to be anywhere between 300,000 and 400,000. Had a pretty successful 1.5 or possibly even 1.6. I'm anticipating my owner's draw to be anywhere between 300,000 and 400,000.
My orders draw? What does that mean? I don't know what that word is. Am I retarded? She's at 300,000.
Pretty successful career as a musician through most of my 20s. The thing they don't tell you about having a career as a musician in music school is that you can be playing Carnegie Hall, which I was, and I was making $15,000 a year. And I didn't realize how much.
I'm sorry. Where did she go to school that she was good enough to play at Carnegie Hall, was a professional musician, and they didn't tell you that you don't make all as a musician? I feel like that's the only thing they tell you in school is you make no money, obviously. That's why they push everybody to be teachers as well. What do you mean? Nobody tells you you're not gonna make money.
School is that you can be playing Carnegie Hall, which I was, and I was making $15,000 a year. And I didn't realize how much freedom money affords you. Now that I see the kind of freedom that somebody who earns what I do or even more has, that's my goal. That is absolutely what gets me out of bed in the morning.
A lot of the high earners, not rich yet, they're first generation wealth. So they still take their wealth into perspective against their family members or others in their community, and they realize how well they're doing. So they don't take it for granted. But I think what makes them feel not rich is we were told once you make six figures, all of your problems will go away. You'll just have so much excess. And I think we know that narrative is not true anymore.
You can have excess. It just depends on what you want in life. If you want to be a retard consumer, you can buy anything that you want and then be poor. That's how it works. When you buy retarded shit all the time, you can do that for a ton of money. What, like, Destiny, that's the opposite of what my band teachers told me when I was about to go to music school at Limfeo. As a clarinet player, they told me I'd probably make around 100,000 playing in an orchestra. What did you go to Berklee School of Music? I didn't even know they would tell you that. Okay, maybe. The New York Philharmonic, what is their average pay? Base pay is $205K. I'm pretty sure those are probably the most well compensated orchestral players in the world, I think, right? For the New York Philharmonic. So this is like if you're the best players in the world and you don't have like your own band or something.
I would have thought back then that the amount of money that I have in the bank right now, I would be rich. I would have just thought, oh yeah, she's made it, and I don't feel that way.
You don't want money in the bank though. You want to buy shit. That's the difference. And if you want to buy shit, then based. But you can't buy shit and have money. You can't have your cake and eat it too. I'm sorry.
I know that I am on a hamster wheel with my business. I actually really love the hamster wheel. I love what I do, but I also realize that I can't stop.
So Henrys often don't feel rich compared to others. They work very hard for their money, but they also spend a lot more than the average person.
In a lot of ways, Henrys may be victims of their zip codes.
$100,000 in LA is definitely very different than $100,000 in Iowa. Someone makes $200,000 a year in LA. They're going to probably take home $140-ish. Rent for a one bedroom is going to be at least $3,000. Their car payment is going to be $700. Car insurance is going to be maybe $200 a month. Gas is going to be $200 a month. If you were to annualize that, that's $50,000 right there.
Our cars, did she say $700 a month car payment? Was that, what kind of loan is that? Is that high or am I out of touch? Is that an ordinary average car payment? $700 a month? Okay, I mean, $140K a year take home pay. Might as well kill myself. Average rent, Los Angeles. Also, it does depend on where you live in LA, but we'll just do, Jesus, are you okay? Whatever this is. Where's the breakdown by, showing like one bedroom studio apartments. It's like $2,145. Studio $1,700. Okay. Find a fucking roommate. Get a girlfriend. $3K a month? What is the average rent for that apartment? Also, this is average too, so you can definitely find cheaper. What is this for a 2-bedroom apartment? Average, LA? And the studio is 2 weeks old. Okay.
The remainder is for all the other things. We haven't eaten yet. We haven't purchased groceries.
Wait, hold on.
Take home $140-ish.
Okay, 140 is this is our take home. So there's about what 11.8K. I don't remember. Fuck. Where are we? 11.7K a month take home.
Rent for a one bedroom is going to be at least $3,000. Their car payment is going to be $700. Car insurance is going to be maybe $200 a month. Gas is going to be $200 a month. If you were to annualize that, that's $50,000 right there. The remainder.
Okay, so you only have like $7,500 a month left. Ah! How do you survive?
Is for all the other things. We have.
Oh no! Only $7,500 a month after taxes, after bills, after all of your bare necessities, after everything.
Haven't eaten yet. We haven't purchased groceries. We haven't paid for
eating and groceries.
Subscriptions to Amazon and Netflix. We haven't gone on vacation yet. We haven't.
Kill me. This is why I hate the middle class, and this is why I support the destruction of the middle class, and I hope the middle class is destroyed. I can barely survive, bro. Do you know how stressful it is planning my monthly vacations, my bi-yearly vacation, not once every 2 years, but my twice-a-year vacation? Do you know how stressful it is?
Groceries. We haven't paid for subscriptions to Amazon and Netflix. We haven't gone on vacation yet. We haven't purchased clothes yet. It can whittle away your discretionary income if you're living in an area that has a high cost of living.
Whittle away your discretionary income. That is your discretionary income. You're spending it. You're disgressing. That is it. That's the thing.
Yet. We haven't purchased clothes yet. It can whittle away your discretionary income if you're living in an area that has a high cost of living.
When my business started to grow, one of the first things that I started spending more money on right away was food because I don't have time to cook. I had more money.
Stop! Bro, I'm getting trolled. I'm getting trolled. I'm getting trolled. These are trolls. These are trolls. These are trolls.
Given time, and so I started eating Grubhub 3 meals a day most days. After that,
three per day. She's spending like $5,000 a month on Grubhub.
That's my donor class.
That's the donor class.
Donor class.
Give me the screaming one, Jank.
Guys, I
no.
think it's the donor class.
The
donor class.
That became rent because I hit $1 million a year in revenue, and I said, I'm eating Grubhub 3 meals a day most days. After that, it became rent because I hit $1 million a year in revenue, and I said, that's it, I'm moving to Manhattan. And so my rent doubled, and I suddenly was paying $4,000 in rent. But
why do you have to? It sounds like your business is online. Why do you have to move to Manhattan? What the?
It's very worth it to me is to live where I want to live. I was proud that I could live here. For about a year, I would walk outside my apartment and just like look around, just be like, oh my gosh, here I am. So that was lifestyle creep for me.
Lifestyle creep is the common phenomenon of spending a little more money as you earn more. It can happen to
a little more money as you earn more?
Anyone at any income.
Lifestyle creep can really sneak up on you. You start earning more.
It happens to anyone at any income? Oh my God. That's so gross. It happens to anyone at any income? That's like you earn a little bit more from like 35 to like 38K a year, and you're like, oh, maybe I can go to the dentist and have this searing pain in my tooth taken care of. We call that lifestyle creep.
And then you decide, well, I can buy more things. I need a second car. I need a bigger home. I need to go on this European
I'm done.
vacation. I deserve this European vacation because I work hard for my money. The problem is if you're not continuing to increase your savings at the same time, you are putting your financial future in jeopardy.
That shift happens everywhere in our lives, from the small purchases to the really big ones. Cars, houses, vacation, and most of these expenses are fixed.
Lifestyle creep impacts almost all tax brackets.
Really big ones. Cars, houses, vacation, and most of these expenses are fixed.
What do we mean when we say When we say vacations are a fixed expense, what is she saying there? What does that mean? I feel like there's like 10 different ways that you could use the word fixed there, and all of them would be retarded. Does she mean fixed as in required yearly? That would be retarded. She couldn't possibly mean that. Does she mean fixed as though the cost of a vacation couldn't scale with your income? Because it definitely can, so she couldn't have meant that. What?
Lifestyle creep impacts almost all tax brackets, but it can take different forms. One 2024 study found that when low and middle income households were given an additional $1,000 no strings attached every month, their spending increased primarily on basic necessities, such as food, transportation, and rent. However, when higher income households were given the same $1,000, they increased spending on both necessities as well as discretionary expenses.
That's
like
my donor
I
class
spend more on
right
my hair,
there.
I spend more on makeup. I get my lashes done. I get my nails done. I think it's just something that comes with the territory.
Birds of a feather tend to.
I like how they talk about themselves like they're victims. Like, I started making more money. I just had to Grubhub 3 times a day, and I just had to, go to my weekly lashes appointment. I just had to do my weekly mani-pedis. I just had to go to, a hair salon every 2 weeks. It's just like, it has to happen. It's unavoidable. I can't help myself.
Flock together, and their spending tends to be more aligned. If you make about $85,000, your friends probably also make about $85,000. So you're doing similar activities in the same economic bracket. Once you have friends that are making $200,000-$300,000 a year, your activities will change. The restaurants that you will eat at will differ and change. They're going to probably be a little bit more elevated. Your vacations are going to be more elevated. Your clothing is going to be more elevated. It's not necessarily spending irresponsibly, but they're spending aligned with their friend group and their community. That's why a lot of them oftentimes don't feel rich, because they're spending along with their friends.
Also, just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with this. If you're making money, especially as a young person, you should be saving, okay? You should be saving. But there's nothing wrong with spending money and enjoying your life, okay? If you're making a lot of money, especially in your late 20s, early 30s, okay, you put in some work, you put in some time, you got your degree, hopefully you paid down your student loan debt a little bit. There's nothing wrong with spending money here and doing it. But don't LARP like you're poor. Don't LARP like you're working class. Don't LARP like your life is such a fucking struggle.
Emotions are tied so tightly to what we do with our money.
Estimate your monthly budget. Mine is probably like $12,000 a month, but like the vast majority of my money is spent on my rents for all my things. Because my rent for this apartment is like $5,400 a month, and then my rent for my studio apartment downstairs for the show that we shoot is like another $3,500 a month. So that's like $10K right there, and then I have whatever I spend on my daily hot chocolate and Subway, and I don't think I spend money on anything else. My utilities. But I mean, I don't buy anything.
It happens to everyone. You get a raise, you're feeling great, you deserve to go out to dinner. In fact, you deserve to book that cruise. But the reality is that money was supposed to be earmarked for a bump up in your retirement savings, or money that you were going to put toward your child's education, or maybe you don't have an emergency fund, or at least not an adequate one, and the money should have gone there. When we allow...
To be fair, if you send an interview with that you're on $2 million and your monthly cost is $12,000, you must have a ton of savings. I do. I just bank all my extra money. Sure. Yeah, I don't need to spend it all.
Ourselves to let our emotions overtake what we're doing with our money. We lose sight sometimes of what our goals are and how we have planned to meet them.
A Henry will sometimes look to the mega millionaires or the billionaires and wish that they had more, but it's really just that upwards comparison for more that keeps them stuck. More will never be enough at a certain point, and you have to decide
at a certain point
what you have is ultimately enough, and start appreciating all that you do have instead of fixating on all that you don't.
Yeah, like once you're at like 600, 700K a year.
Experts say the best way for Henrys to start to feel rich and to get off the hamster wheel is by budgeting and planning for the future.
You can't really figure out if you're rich yet unless you know where you stand right now and where you want to go. You need to know your net worth. Doesn't matter how much money you have. It's not just for rich people. You have a net worth. What you own minus what you owe is your net worth. Everyone has one. Yours may be negative at this point, but you have to figure how to turn that around. Once you know your net worth, then you can start to build on what are your goals? What do I want to have in terms of my retirement savings, in terms of savings for college if you have children, in terms of emergency savings in case anything happens, how secure will I be? Once you have significant emergency savings, enough to cover, say, 6 months of your expenses or more, you're going to start to feel rich. Surveys have shown that financial well-being is tied closely to emergency savings. And so if you know that you're not going to have to whip out a credit card, that you're going to be able to pay for the roof that needs to be fixed or the car that breaks down, you're going to feel rich.
I think wealth is often an emotional feeling. It's a mindset to feel truly secure and not to have to worry about finances at all. Feeling rich, it can feel much more about the bottom line and the dollar amount. So one is more about the tangible number in your bank account, and the other more is a feeling. Most people aspire to reach a level of wealth where they don't have to stress or worry.
Bullshit. None of this has been about, in my mind, for me, well, at this point, is that I can retire, I guess, right? Which is like the early retirement people like, although I don't know why you would stop working. How boring would life be? But in my mind, maybe it's a working class bullshit, whatever. But in my mind, wealth is, I don't have to stress about any bills ever. I don't have to worry about not being able to pay a bill. Maybe even for a few months. Okay, how cool would that be, right? Once you're at that point, okay, you're at the very least, it's some golden thing where you're not stressing about paying your bills. And then past that, it's just like, I guess like you're making enough money to cover your expenses, have a little bit of fun, and hopefully you're on path to save for retirement. You're going to be really successful. Maybe you can retire before 65, right? Aim for 50, 40, 35, you'll be super ultra crazy or whatever, aggressive. But
number in your bank account, and the other more is a feeling. Most people aspire to reach a level of wealth where they don't have to stress or worry about their finances or even about the future generations, to know that there's a cushion there.
But that's when you're spending all of your money on like extra consumables, on extra, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're young, have fun, spend some money. I don't think like the people are like, you have to save 40% of your income for your 401k and you're save every bit of money, blah, 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 all that bullshit, right? If you're young, have fun, right? Your body's healthy, you can run around and do shit, you can stay awake, you can do drugs, you got sleep deprived, you got crazy shit when you're young. Yeah, go out, have fun, do that. Just don't LARP like you're poor.
One of the things I focus on with my clients is a budget should be a representation of your values. The issue is you can't value everything. You have to prioritize it. And when people see the hard numbers of what they're spending on a monthly or annualized basis, and they see, oh my gosh, I'm spending $5,000 a year eating out, I will ask the question, are you enjoying those meals at $5,000? Is it bringing you that much excitement and that much joy? And most people will say, no, Camila, it's not. The food is okay. I'm doing it to be social. Well, we'll talk about other ways that you can be social without spending $5,000 a year eating out. You can't buy clothes consistently, travel consistently.
Wait, did she say 5,000 a year or 5,000 a month? Because those are very different.
And that much joy out. I will ask the question, are you enjoying those meals at $5,000? Is it I'm spending the hard numbers of what they're spending on a monthly or annualized basis?
Monthly or annualized.
Oh, okay. Be social. Well, we'll talk about other ways that you can be social without spending $5,000 a year eating out. You can't buy clothes consistently, travel consistently, eat out consistently. You have to pick maybe one or two things where you're going to focus your discretionary spending and then take that extra and rewrap that to savings. So you can start feeling rich.
Spending gives this immediate dopamine fix, and seeing wealth in an account with numbers and commas often can be far more satisfying, but we don't realize it in the moment. It's almost like the difference between an exciting, very toxic relationship versus a secure and stable long-term partner. I think the feeling of safety and the feeling that you can weather this long-term financial storm is far more satisfying, and we have to train ourselves to value that safety over the quick fix of a fancy car or a shiny new watch.
My advice for somebody who's on the hamster wheel is understanding the trade-off. I could get off the hamster wheel at any time, and I know that. And I know that my circumstances may change. For right now, this is the answer for me. My advice to somebody who's feeling that anxiety is understand that this is a choice. There are trade-offs. What I have learned is that I have been very burnt out and exhausted as
okay. That's fine. If you recognize it, that's fine. That's okay.
A person who doesn't earn a lot of money, and I have been burned out and exhausted as a person who does earn a lot of money, and I would take being a person who's burned out and exhausted and has money any day of the week. I would rather do that than be burned out and tired and also worrying about my bills.
Oh, sure. Okay. That's fine. You know what? Her perspective's fine.